Hello and welcome to another episode of the F1 Breakdown podcast. My name is Jack Jordan Maynard, news and blog writer at F1 Breakdown. And well, it's a Singapore review, so we'll be reviewing the Singapore Grand Prix. And as most of you know, because it's the Friday following the race, when we tend to normally do our podcast, it's another win for Sebastian Vettel. But there's one thing I do want to talk about, which I think is starting to become a bit of an annoyance in Formula One so far this season, and that is the constant need to boo Sebastian Vettel. I think that is inappropriate at the moment because the boy, he's doing amazing things in that car. And yeah, we've had this situation obviously with Michael Schumacher winning races, and yeah, it might have been boring because there was not as much overtaking in Formula One at that time. Yeah, but Michael Schumacher was not being booed on the podium. Maybe that race in Austria in 2002, there might have been a few boos because of the way it happened for him to win that race. But overall, I did not see Michael Schumacher being booed throughout his entirety of his career when he won those 7 World Championships and won 4 in a row, which Sebastian Vettel was on course to doing and could be done within the next couple of races, I believe. But, you know, booing is wrong on the podium, and I don't think it's a thing where, oh yeah, we're looking at Malaysia now, and oh, it's because of Malaysia, that's why we're booing him. It's not because of Malaysia, it's just, you know, it started off because, you know, well, in Silverstone, you know, Mark Webber is obviously got a huge fan base at Silverstone, and obviously what he did to Seb in Malaysia, yeah, was wrong. So you can see why, you know, Seb got booed there. In Canada, I was a bit surprised why, you know, he got booed, but I don't think it's now the booing. Yeah, you've made your point. If it is Malaysia at the beginning of that sort of time, Silverstone and Canada time, that yeah, it was Malaysia and what he did was wrong. But now it's blown over now. What's happened has happened. In Singapore, Seb, he drove an amazing race. Do 2 seconds a lap faster consistently throughout the race at certain points, you know. Not even a new set of option tyres would give that to you, because if you think about it, yeah, Nico Rosberg's tyres, Fernando Alonso's, Hamilton's tyres are only 3 laps older than Sebastian Vettel's. Yes, they've had a heat cycle through them, but they're not going to, you know, be that much less grippy than Sebastian Vettel's tyres. So 2 seconds a lap faster wasn't just, you know, the tyres, it was Sebastian Vettel. Yeah, you could say that Red Bull might have had something to do with it, but I don't think the Red Bull is 2 seconds a lap quicker than the rest of the field. So part of that was down to Sebastian Vettel, and we have to give credit to Sebastian Vettel for that, because, you know, it was an amazing drive, and we can't, you know, distort the fact that, you know, he's doing an amazing job just because we want to boo him. And I think it's a monkey see, monkey do thing now. You know, people around the world have seen fans boo Sebastian Vettel on the top step on the podium, so when they go to the race and they see Sebastian Vettel on the top step of the podium, it's now the automatic reaction, I believe, which is wrong, because it's not the way that, you know, Formula One should be done at the moment, because it's just, yeah, as I said, it's wrong, it's very bad. I hope it stops. And, you know, I'm really looking forward to career. And if Sebastian Vettel wins again, I don't want to see boos on the podium. I think it's wrong. I think we should, you know, be embracing, you know, Sebastian Vettel, putting up a challenge to Michael Schumacher's, you know, record. Yeah, you know, records are there to be broken. Yeah, it's been quite short since Schumacher's last did his, you know, 7 World Championships. But, you know, he could do it soon. He could do it within the next 3 years. It could be amazing. If Sebastian Vettel breaks it so quickly. But, you know, if he does, then he deserves to break it. And to be fair, I did hear a very interesting quote from a few fans afterwards who said that they didn't boo Sebastian Vettel. They said it was like playing the Formula One game, and Sebastian Vettel in that race forgot to turn the difficulty level up from amateur to legend, which did make me chuckle quite a bit, because it was essentially the race he raced like that throughout the whole race, a second, 2 seconds a lap quicker, you know, and no one had an answer to it, which is what you normally see on the game. If you accidentally leave on amateur 2 seconds, 3 seconds a lap faster than Vettel, we've never really seen that in a race. And if there wasn't a safety car in that race, he could have been 50, 60, he could have been a whole minute in front of the field comfortably, and he probably wasn't even pushing that hard, which, you know, it's scary to think if you're Fernando Alonso, Hamilton, Raikkonen, who are trying to chase him down in the championship, although Hamilton and Raikkonen said, championship's over. But that's it, really, for, Sebastian Vettel. I just don't want to see any more booing. I think it's just wrong. Because the sport really shouldn't, that shouldn't be making the headline, Sebastian Vettel being booed. It should be Sebastian Vettel dominates, or Sebastian Vettel shows everybody up, or, celebrating Sebastian Vettel, not booing, because, booing in sport is not, good. And it's not good when you see it on the back pages of the newspapers, saying that, instead of the main story being about the race and how good the race was, is that the boos are dominating the majority of the stories. So, looking though at the championship, if Seb carries on at this rate of attrition that he's getting of points, and just dominating Formula 1, then this championship could be over very soon if he keeps finishing in the high places. So we do need him to slip up somewhere if we want this championship to become slightly more interesting, but you can't really see that happening in the next couple of races, especially that Red Bull now strong at Korea, India, Japan, tracks where they have been strong. So I can see this championship being really sewn up within the next race or two. But then, we'll be racing for pride in, and we could get some more interesting Grand Prix. So still stick with the season if the championship is finished, because, once the championship's finished, you see, drivers just going all out attack because there's nothing really to lose. Even Sebastian Vettel might be driving full out of it, because if he crashes, because he's already won the championship. Looking elsewhere in the race, yes, we had the 100% record for the safety car carrying on at Singapore because of Ricciardo's crash. The rest are also continuing his run of poor form, which is a shame, really, because I feel the rest has the potential to become a top driver and in a top team, but he's not showing it lately, and he has shown it before. Remember going back to Bahrain, where he was in third in that Grand Prix, and he was able to, come back, and he only lost the position to Grosjean right at the end, so he was able to hold on to it, which was what I was going to say, and keep third place for a while. But then Grosjean came with on the better strategy, and sadly overtook the rest towards the end of the race. So he's got the potential to be an amazing driver, but he needs to make sure crunch time, at time where it's silly season now, where everyone's thinking of moves and stuff, that now is the time to be, on the door and saying, look how good I am. But he's not doing that yet, and it's going to be frustrating for him, because it's more than likely it's another season at Force India for next season, even though he's contracted for Force India, but Force India said if a big team comes, they will let him go. But I really think it's another season at Force India for the rest, which will frustrate the Englishman, I think. Looking at other aspects of the race, Mercedes slightly falling back, starting well with Rosberg, but just they don't have the pace, and the strategy didn't really work out for them, the free-stop strategy, and they were chasing the field. They got up a few positions, but Rosberg was in second when he pitted, and he ended up finishing, I believe it was fourth, because of Mark Webber's problem. So he lost a couple of positions, could have been on the podium. If he stayed with the two-stop strategy, he might have finished third, because I think Alonso was quicker than him at that stage of the Grand Prix when they pitted. And Alonso, man, we really need him to start qualifying well, because what an electric start he had from 7th, I believe, to 3rd in the first corner. Just that was amazing to watch. And if he was there, 3rd in the race, then he could have been up there and challenging for the race victory if he got ahead of Vettel, which was what we need. We need him to get ahead of Vettel in the first corner in order to tame Vettel's pace, because the Red Bull's quicker than the Ferrari, but Alonso is a tough challenger to overtake. So we need Alonso really to get up there quickly. Well, that's really it. That sums up the Singapore Grand Prix. It was a nice Grand Prix, a good Grand Prix to watch. Good battling through the field with the strategies of three-stop and two-stop strategy. Seeing the McLarens nearly paying off with the two-stop strategy, but losing it towards the end because the tyres hitting the cliff, which we haven't seen a lot of in Formula 1 recently. But and they fell down the grid quite dramatically with the Mercedes and Mark Webber getting through. Oh, the Mark Webber incident, of course. it's a joke really that he's got a 10-place grid penalty for the for getting a lift with Alonso after the race. I think that was a joke, because he had his engine caught fire at the end of the race, and he picked up a lift with great sporting gesture, which we like to see in Formula One. Has been penalised with a 10-place grid penalty because it was his third reprimand. A joke, really. Everyone labelled it as a joke in the paddock. Red Bull, most of the journalists. It's just a very, you see something sporting. It's like, someone did a bad tackle and then said sorry and then gets, said it was really bad and then, says sorry, does everything in football and then gets chucked out for 20 games because it's kind of just stupid, He said, it was a nice sporting gesture. So, the FIA really needs to look into that for next season in the regulations for sporting gestures being part of the regulation, and if that happens, then that does eventually break the regulation. But because it was a sporting gesture and a nice sporting gesture, it was deemed to be okay and acceptable. I do agree with the fact that the FIA saying that it was the way Alonso stopped was dangerous. I think because he did stop kind of in the middle of the track and Raikkonen Hamilton did have to swerve around, which was bad. I would have slapped Alonso on the wrist for that. But I think if Alonso went off the track at that corner and then picked him up off the track so cars can come in and then he could rejoin, then I can't really see, why someone would be punished for that. But, I'm not the FIA. I wish I was, because, these stupid decisions wouldn't really be made. And I think a lot of people would say the same. But that's it for Singapore. We head off to Korea next week. So hopefully there'll be quite a few people there because normally there's not many people at Korea. But, we look forward to hopefully another decent, good Grand Prix, a bit more entertaining than we've seen over the last couple of races. I think it's starting to pick up. Singapore Grand Prix was a good Grand Prix. So I look forward to speaking to you guys again after the Singapore Grand Prix, the Korean Grand Prix, sorry. And I will see you soon. Bye bye.